on the Villes world.
It means essentially, what they call us the shovel bums, kind of. So we're kind of the hard labor end of the
Shovel
workforce.
bums?
Yeah. We're the blue collar archaeologists. So during the majority of the year, I'm doing research, working in projects for construction companies. So I'm actually contracted as an archaeologist through different construction projects. Whenever people want to build, they send us out there, make sure they're not digging up any ancient burial grounds, things like that.
You ever find anything like that while you're working for these construction companies?
Uh, if we do, it would be a lot of paperwork. So I haven't run into anything crazy before. We've had a couple small sites, but thankfully no bones, no burial grounds, no ghosts or anything like that.
What got you into archaeology?
You know, when I was a kid, I would go on vacations with my family and take about 30 or so pounds of rocks home in the luggage. Um, Always been fascinated with the ancient world, Egypt, the ancient Mayans, Aztecs, all that stuff.
And so the field, like when you're doing field work, you said Mesoamerica, right?
Yeah, so I'm a Mesoamerican archaeologist in the academic world. Usually the field season for that runs through the summer, and through the rest of the year, usually to pay my bills, I'm in CRM, which stands for Cultural Resource Management. So that's kind of where the money is in the US.
You prefer the field work though, I'm assuming, right?
Oh, yeah. Field season, when we're working at bigger sites and, we don't have to write up the paperwork for finding anything crazy, we find all sorts of artifacts there. So never know what you're going to pull out of the ground.
I see. A lot of people look at archaeology as like almost the study of objects. Would you say that that is true, or it's even more the study of like people?
It used to be true. For a long time, we had antiquated archaeology. So that was a collection of artifacts, documentation, meticulous writings and drawings and things like that. Lately, in the past 40 or so years, archaeology has kind of taken a turn. We've adopted the phrase, moving away from pots instead of people. So they always said pots, not people. So getting into the people, the culture, and the human beings that existed for us is more important than the artifacts now.
I see. And some of well, obviously I wanted to have you on because I find archaeology to be a fascinating subject that I think more people should know about. So I don't know. I'm just very interested in the whole subject. And when I found out that you did like the type of work that you do is in Mesoamerica, which is like for the idiots out there like me, that would be the Aztecs, Mayans, Olmecs, and what else?
The Toltecs as well.
Do you have well, I was gonna say, do you have a favorite group, but is there one that is more interesting to you than others, or no? Do you find them kind of equally fascinating?
I mean, it all really depends on the person, but for me, definitely ancient Mayan. Um, for several reasons. I mean, their calendric system was very cool, and all of their ancient writing systems as well really stood out to me. And of course,
You said a calendric system?
yeah, like their calendars.
Oh, okay. I see. Um, that's interesting. What, so how do the calendars that they find like that, is that like, um, obviously it's not written down on paper and you can't look it up on your phone, but how did archaeologists like find shit like that? Is it like written in stone, or like how did you like what is that specifically, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so we have a couple actually surviving like paper documents of it.
Actual
Uh,
paper?
yeah.
Like not written on like hides?
Oh, yeah, they had pressed paper ones. I have a few examples of them actually, but the majority of it, you were right, is stonework. So the ancient Mayans had one of the most advanced date documentation systems in the world. And so what they would do was they would create these giant think of them as like lithic monuments. They're called stela. And the stelas would have like a pictographic or like a drawn picture of an event that would happen. And then on the side, they would have the date written in glyphs. And so the date would be down to the exact day, month, and year that it happened. So for a lot of the events that happened in like Mayan culture history, the changing over of kings or the start or end of important wars, we have those events directly to the day that they were, they happened.
That's fucking insane. How did, like, I don't know if you would know this or not, but how did people start to find out what those, glyphs meant? Like, how did people figure out that translation?
It's actually, it's both interesting, funny, and sad.
Sounds like my life.
Well, it was crazy for sure. I think that it was, so we lost a lot of the written documentation during like colonial contact, a lot of the records of how to translate the glyphs, and a lot of the records themselves were burned. They were considered to be like inscriptions of the devil by
purposely burned, like by the conquistadors or whatever.
Yeah, so we lost.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We lost like a lot, thousands of books. But the interesting about the Mayan language, as far as I know, was that it's a combination of what's called like logographic and pictographic symbols. And so all languages are either logographic or pictographic. Logographic meaning that there are symbols that represent different consonants or pronunciations.
I see.
So
Okay.
like the English language that we have derived from Latin is a logographic language compared to like ancient Egyptian, like hieroglyphs, which are by and large pictographic, meaning they use pictures to depict different words.
Could it be multiple words too?
Yeah, in some cases. The Mayan language is a combination of both. And so we, for a long time, thought that they were exclusively pictographic or like picture symbols that represented words. It wasn't until I believe like the 1900s that a man, I believe he was a writer. I don't think he was actually like a by trade archaeologist from Russia, managed to decode a lot of the language.
From Russia?
Yeah.
Whoa, Putin.
Was that before his time? I can't remember. I don't know how old he is.
I don't know. That guy's been in power for, I think, my whole life. But
I was going to say, predates me for sure. He could be a fossil himself at this point.
Now, I wanted to ask this too. Let me figure out how to word this question. When it comes to like the Mayan civilization, the Aztec. Oh, actually, let me ask you this before. How long was the Mayan civilization?
It's up for debate. It's like what they classify as part of the culture or not. I couldn't give you the specifics of it. At least for the site that I work in, it was.
That's the site in Belize?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I would do field work in Belize through the summer, usually the first only month and a half, depending. The sites that we work in were like pre-classic to classic. So 250 BC to around 300 AD.
Oh, that's fucking insane.
Yeah. Long periods of occupation. I believe they were terminated around 900 AD. I couldn't give you a starting point.
Terminated meaning, how did that come to an end?
So no longer like occupied sites. Not necessarily meaning that they were, there was a large collapse or anything like that. Rather that the population dispersed into smaller like groups. Not as much of an organized regime.
So there wasn't like an event that just ended it. It kind of just died off.
No, archaeologists try in large, but specifically in Mesoamerican archaeology, to stray away from the term collapse, only because it suggests that there was this large, meteor cataclysmic event that kind of wiped out the population. In reality, it's like archaeologists are trying to understand holistically that just because there's an end of a kingdom or a regime or a ruler or the ruling class, that the population was erased. Um, One thing that archaeologists have had trouble with is realizing that a lot of what we pull out of the ground, a lot of the historical documentation that we have is from like a ruling class perspective. So the common people were very much still there. They dispersed, their languages and cultures were dispersed throughout Mesoamerica. But a lot of the big empires, Tikal, Calakmul, um, were eventually, unoccupied, I guess you could say.
So within the Mayan civilization, there were multiple different empires, like throughout the years. It wasn't just like a dynasty.
Oh yeah, no, there were many, many. I mean, Mayan is like an overarching encapsulation of the region. Um, but yes, there were several empires. The ones that I was actually mentioning earlier, it's ironic that a lot of people recognize the kingdom of Tikal or even the site of Tikal from the popular Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah, I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
So
The Star Wars movie actually draws back not only because they used the site to film for the movie, but also because in ancient Mayan culture there was a war. There was a series of wars called.
so they
the
like
Star
fought
Wars.
with each other.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
a lot of infighting.
Do we know how large the Mayan culture like spanned it out, radius wise?
It's hard to say for sure. It was a lot of the Petén jungle, if you know where that is. It's where Guatemala kind of juts out. So it was in mostly southern Mexico, and then it moved into Belize and Guatemala and spanned slightly down beneath it. But it was a huge, huge region. A lot of it was covered by a lot of like topographic variety. So it gave the chance for different cultures to form within there, and of course to start war with each other.
Okay, now I do want to. I forgot my original question for a second, but I think I remembered it. The shit. No, I'm fucking asking it. Maybe not. The Mayan civil. Okay, yeah, this is what it was. So the Aztec, I would say Aztec in particular, and Mayan civilizations. A lot of people look at these civilizations as when they think about it, they'll think spirituality and sacrifices. Now, can you kind of tell me why that's wrong? Like, kind of give me like tell people how it's more than just that,
I mean, I feel like a lot of people, when they kind of see or think about, you'd think about the word Aztec or the word Mayan, it automatically comes up to Montezuma and, the stabbing of the heart and all the things you see on Indiana Jones, and as big of a fan I am of those movies.
Did you watch them all?
Oh, of course I did.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I have not seen one of them.
Seriously? Wow. Well, that's your next task for sure.
Are they accurate at all or no?
Not only do I kind of cringe at them now for the inaccuracy, but it's also so painful to watch him just run through and just destroy everything as he's running through these temples. But
yeah, probably as an archaeologist, you're like, no,
exactly.
Fucking.
Just thinking about how I get in there with my trowel and I'd be like, okay, let me expose this wall facade here and all that. But
yeah, so like you were saying, and kind of the question I was asking, when people think about these ancient cultures, that's what they kind of think of. What kind of more, like what is like what else is to it? Like what more? I know that there's a lot more, but I just want to hear like what you have to say about that.
For sure, I think first and foremost, the topic of the hour people think of is human sacrifice. So these big ritualistic sacrifices and bloodletting and all these, things that they tell kids at night to scare them and all that. Um, in part, yes, they did have some cases of human sacrifice. It's not nearly on the scale that most people think of it to be, though. And the way that the Mayans, especially, conducted warfare was entirely different from how we perceive it. So when you think of people with, spears and blades and all these things like that, um, one of the biggest reasons that the Mayans were initially, when they were faced with the conquistadors, they had problems with their terms of warfare was because in Mayan warfare, especially Mesoamerican warfare, the goal of it was not to wipe out the enemy. And so the reason why the Spaniards were so horrified at these instances of human sacrifice was because they saw it as disturbing or violent, cruel, demonic. In reality,
those Spaniards were Christians, right?
yes, exactly. But Mayan warfare is different from European warfare, and like I said, they weren't aiming to massacre the other side.
To wipe out, yeah.
So what they would do is they would go to battle with another culture, another city, another empire, and they would capture the leaders during warfare, during battle. And those would be the people who would end up being sacrificed.
Oh, really?
But other than that, the goal of it was to injure the other side. And they got pretty creative with that. I will give them that. They had a variety of weapons, including like live bees and things like that.
Live bees?
They would fill gourds with live bees and throw them into the enemy.
Honey bees?
Oh, no, stinging bees. It's funny. There's actually a non-stinging Mayan bee that they have that produces honey, but that's another thing.
One of the people I would like to talk to is a beekeeper at some point during my podcast run, just because bees I find to be very interesting in themselves. I don't know, they're just really cool.
Oh, well, the Mayans found them very interesting too. I would feel bad for the bees though. They'd get shaken up and just tossed in there. But when it comes to sacrifice, like you said, a lot of people, especially us archaeologists, interpreted that as not something to be demonic, but something that, in comparison to European warfare, where they would just slaughter the enemy ranks.
Just to take over.
Exactly. It's like it's focused on the leaders of a certain conflict. Of course, you would have warriors who would be injured and killed in battle, but significantly less than that of, say, like the Crusades, a conflict where it was just like a massacre.
The Crusades are fucking crazy too.
That's a podcast in and of itself.
Yeah, for real.
But outside of warfare, I think what a lot of people
there, I don't mean to cut you off, but were there sacrifices outside of like the ones we're, talking about specifically, or?
Outside of conflict, I'm actually not sure. What I specialize in, or in the area that I've worked in, what we see is a lot of ritualistic bloodletting. That's another thing that probably freaked the conquistadors out. But
now, to the people who don't know exactly what that means, could you give an explanation of bloodletting?
Yeah, I'll draw an image. Not actually, but it would be considered a form of sacrifice, a self-sacrifice. So bloodletting would be taking like a small obsidian blade that'd be very detailed, like hand-carved blade, and sacrificing some of your blood. It was usually only done by like people who were like high priests, so to speak. It wasn't a very like common practice, but it was done. It was very popularized.
I see.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. So, so the Mayan civilization, that you said it had a large range like distance wise. Now that, and like you said, from the work that you've done in Belize, right? Um, and in that region, what like how would you compare that to the region of like where the Aztecs or the Olmecs were? Is it the same region or in different time periods or like completely different things?
Definitely some overlap in region. The Olmecs were the first civilization, or considered to be the first like organized civilization in Mesoamerica. So they ranged, I want to say, from about 1500 to 900 BCE.
Which is fucking insane,
Yeah.
by the way.
Huge difference. And by comparison, like for example, like Tenochtitlan, the city of the Aztecs, was more from 1200 to 1500 CE, the Common Era. So give or take at least a couple hundred years difference.
What is Chichen Itza?
Chichen Itza is a Mayan site that's actually in southern Mexico near Cancun.
Okay. So that kind of can tell you how far these fucking ranges go from to Belize, you know, to the area that you're talking about now. Is it possible, or do they think maybe that maybe not the Olmecs, but from Aztec to Maya, could there maybe have been any intermingling or like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about having such large civilizations in proximity to each other is there's a lot of both like material and cultural diffusion. So you saw the trade of a lot of materials such as, you know, jade, obsidian, things like that, different agricultural resources.
What is obsidian? A rock?
It is.
What did they use it? Why did that have significance to them?
It had quite a bit of significance in a variety of different things. Like how I referenced the bloodletting before, the blades that they would use were made from obsidian.
Really?
Spiritually, it was said to absorb a lot of negative energy. They would use it in an entire variety of different things. I actually have brought a couple of, I guess,
Is obsidian
examples.
the black?
Yes.
The shiny? And could they just find that? Like, is that in the region? They could just like, you know, fucking, would they have like obsidian itself? Is it like in mountainous parts, or could you just like dig that shit up?
So it is a volcanic glass. It was pretty common in that
Interesting.
region.
Almost like trinitite, I think is the name of it.
It is one of the sharpest naturally forming materials in the world, which is why part of the reason why it was so valuable for bloodletting. One of the reasons we have to be so delicate when handling it, because it's very dangerous. They would use it in the construction.
Dangerous in the way that it can cut you.
Oh yeah, I have
Okay.
a firsthand experience with quite a bit of that. We actually put the obsidian blades that we find in camera cases, because usually they'll have trace amounts of blood on them from when they were used for bloodletting. But it ranged from anything from weaponry to ritual blades to even those discs. You can see a disc I have there.
Yeah. So what are these? So she brought two of these things here that both look like obsidian, or maybe three. What exactly? So, okay. Here, can I see this one? Let's talk about this one first. Actually, we'll save that one. Let's just talk about this.
So this is actually just the raw rock. This was a sample collected from Utah by one of my paleontologist friends.
So this is legitimate obsidian.
100%.
This is, and you said this is volcanic glass, and they would get this stuff or whatever and carve it down, shave it down to make weapons or to make any type of whatever they wanted to do with it.
Yeah. So the process is called napping. Usually they would take like a long bone from an animal, like a deer or something. And this is throughout the Americas and in most places. And it would take a very, very skilled craftsman, and they would hit the obsidian or the rock, something like a flint or chert, and they would slowly work it down into these beautifully defined pieces, like axe heads, arrowheads, the carved blade, like the one I have here. Very, very detailed, very, very. It took a long time, and I think that's obvious through a lot of the work that we find, especially in the U.S. We'll find cores or like pieces that were flaked off or weapons that are half made because it takes oftentimes someone who's practiced it quite a bit to get it into something like the end product here.
Yeah, I want to bring that up in a second, but I have a question about this or a few. So it's very like smooth. For the people, obviously you can't see the shit that's in my hands, but I will put I'll take a few pictures of this and I'll put them right here. Boom, boom, boom. Now so it's very smooth. Why is some of it not that smooth? And why, like, what are these marks in here?
Oftentimes it would be like you have like higher grade and lower grade minerals. If it's on like the unsmooth surfaces, it's likely that it came in contact with another mineral, or it's like it was formed and had something else in it, like a calcite or an iron, and it would lower the luster of it, kind of like that shine.
Now, what are the whitish spots that kind of look like sand, especially on those edges? Is that what the rock looks like on the inside, or what is that?
The white spots here.
Like if you see on the edges how it kind of looks like sand.
Yeah. So the rock on the inside is actually also usually transparent. I think
Black like that, really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I can also send you some references. The obsidian blades that we work with are almost completely transparent. So on the inside, it should be shiny like the outside. But the great thing actually about it being so transparent, another thing that they would use it for would to be make these large discs. So as you know, the Mayans had a very close relationship with the cosmos. And what they would use the discs for is so they would be able to look at the sun. So for example, with this small obsidian disc I have in my hand, when you put it up towards a light or something that you obviously can't stare at for a long period of time, the light is still visible through it, but
Almost like
it's
fucking
dulled.
sunglasses a little bit.
Exactly, ancient sunglasses, so to speak.
Can I see that?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is so cool. This is like it's like smooth and just like perfectly. I'm a big fan of like just like works in themselves. Like I can go onto YouTube and watch a video of a guy making a fucking couch. He makes it out of fucking whatever type of wood. He cuts down a tree. I could watch shit like that for hours. And with modern tools and everything, I even find those videos interesting, but it's just so crazy to think that people fucking multiple hundreds of years ago or even thousands of years ago could fucking come up with shit like this. Like, what the fuck? This is crazy. And this is a replica, right? But
Oh yeah,
almost
of course.
exact.
Oh yeah. There was
Now this is Mayan too, right?
yes. It's a malachite
This
blade.
is fucking nuts. I'm gonna show a picture of this, but this is fucking crazy. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, disclaimer, I don't have any actual artifacts. The looting trade is very bad in Central America. So always support artifact replicas for sure. This is a replica from a man in Cozumel who actually does replicas for museums in the area.
Do you know his name?
I actually can't remember, but I can find it for you for sure.
Shout out you, bro. You're a G.
Yeah, it's the handle itself is like a representation of a ruler in kind of like a liminal state. What the ancient Mayans, especially people in power in the ruling class, would do to be closer to the Mayan gods is they would enter this liminal state between human and animal.
Oh, I
So,
see what you say about the light thing. You can like still see the light through it.
oh yeah, it's very useful. I know I brought my handy obsidian disc out for that last
I wish I could
solar
like hand you
eclipse.
guys this fucking thing. This is so cool.
It's got a nice weight to it. But even the blade itself, you can see how it was hand worked down. And I mean, I've tried my hand at it myself a couple times and came out with a little rinky dinky looking piece.
Well, I would have. You should have brought those. I would have liked to see those too. But okay, a few questions about this.
Mhm.
The handle, which I would think. Okay, let me ask this first before I say this dumbass shit. What would what would something like this be for? Would this be like a blade to fuck somebody up with, or would it be a blade to?
You know, I'm not exactly sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it was used as weaponry, but something as ornate and detailed as that, my guess would either be in a ritual context, which is kind of like the archaeology like cop out. Oh, it's a ritual context.
Well, this is
or
what I
as
mean.
a-
That's what it reminds me of. Like when I see this, I think of like some guy at the top of a fucking pyramid going, blah, fucking yeah.
Nothing that crazy, but or in a funerary context as well.
What? So this is obsidian.
Mhm.
What is the handle made out of?
The handle is malachite. So
Is that
often,
green, like in
yeah.
itself?
So malachite is naturally green. It comes in a variety of colors, but malachite, jade, obsidian, shirt were all materials that you would see a lot of. And of course, there's no shortage of jade jokes at my site over the years, pertaining to my name. But
If somebody's like talking shit or whatever at your one of your sites, you'd be like, "Hey, stop throwing jade."
more like along the lines of everybody wants to find jade at the site. And so
Jade's a hot name too. I'm out here looking for jade.
I get a lot of heat for it for
Oh
sure.
shit! I forgot. I didn't. Sorry, I forgot about what your name was for a second.
I was kind of built for this profession, I'm not gonna lie. But people are always like, they want to find, oh, I found jade. They'll be at my site, taking the piss about it because you actually uncover something jade, and it's big news among the crew for like the next couple weeks.
Does the name Jade, does that represent a color?
Yeah, it's actually a rock. It's a green, light green, rock.
So would you say this part, like this handle part, would possibly be made? Or no, you said malachite.
Yeah, jade's a little bit lighter. It's if you've ever seen like an East Asian like jade pendant, that was very popularized there too. But jade or jadeite, specifically in Central America,
Throw an
is
image of Jade right here too.
yeah, it's a lot lighter color. It's a beautiful color. But over the years, we'll find things like jade beads. I know one year we found, or I should say, they found a jade animal carving that was used. It was built into the wall of one of the tombs we worked in. Kind of like a reused statue, which is crazy to think about that they would take something so ornate and build it into the wall of something.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. Do you find it kind of strange that you have this fascination of archaeologists and you're a literal archaeologist and your name is Jade?
I feel like it's like one of those things where if I were to be anything else, I feel like it'd be a waste of the potential of my name.
Right, it's pretty cool, right? Like,
True. Yeah, I don't get as much laughter. I also work and I work in a bakery, and there's not a lot of jade jokes over there. So
do you have any creative control at your bakery or no?
I mean, I can.
You should hit up the owner or whatever, and or whoever, maybe just on your own time, make like a fucking, I don't know, like some type of Mayan thing, maybe a Mayan sun cookie or something. Color it green. Be like, this is a
yeah.
jade cookie.
I've actually talked to them in the past about the bakers take kind of creative liberty with what they do. And pertaining to archaeology, I was like, we actually have a recipe for the original Roman bread that they made in Pompeii. And I was like, oh, it would be so sick to have like a special bake item of, obviously the grains are extinct now, but as close as you can get to the original Roman bread, which was, as far as I've heard, actually quite gross. It's very dense, but
It's
um,
do you have any knowledge about the Pompeii incident or civilization at all, or no?
yeah, I've had a couple of friends who've worked out in Pompeii and Herculaneum,
Oh,
which is a
really?
neighboring city.
Where's that at? I don't I have no
Uh,
information about
I
Pompeii.
believe it's like northern central Italy. I was actually there a couple years back, not for work, but for leisure. And the funny thing, well, I shouldn't say the funny thing, the more interesting thing about Pompeii, is that not a lot of people know its sister city, Herculaneum. And the thing about Herculaneum that is so interesting is that, in comparison to Pompeii, a lot of the remains, the organic matter, was more preserved. With Pompeii, it was quick and it only left cavities of the people that were there. In Herculaneum, we actually have samples of wood and human hair that were preserved from there. So we're able to get.
And how are those? How does that make any sense? Like, how are those things preserved like that? Like, when it comes to, because Pompeii has, there's like the site where you can see where there's like a guy was laying down or like a person was standing there. How does that get preserved because of a volcano, right?
It's a very, very cool process, that the archaeologists uncovered when they were first uncovering the city. So the people were buried under layers of pyroclastic ash, and their bodies initially were trapped they basically frozen in time. And as time went on, the organic matter, the people, and obviously the dogs, the city itself decomposed. But the cavities were left because they were underneath all this ash and rubble and matter. And so the archaeologists who first uncovered Pompeii decided to fill those cavities with plaster. And the
So if
plaster,
they didn't do that, it wouldn't be how it is now.
no, the plaster perfectly preserved all of the organic matter that had disappeared. So we're able to get almost exact replicas of all of the bodies that of the people who passed away in Pompeii.
Wow.
It's very cool. If you
So
haven't
are
heard.
those replicas that they have in Pompeii? Is it like, you know, the famous or infamous, statues of people and whatnot? Those are actual people,
Yeah, those are the people.
and then they used plaster to like keep them in place.
So they imagine like they filled the hole with the plaster. So it was the mold that initially was captured by the volcano.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course they've removed the plaster molds now only because of tourist activity. Um, but every like plaster mold statue that you see of the people on display, they have them in display cases now, is an exact image of the person when they passed.
That's insane.
It's very eerie. It's definitely very sad, but also fascinating.
Yeah, it is pretty fascinating and sad as well. Um, so I like to think too. Well, not that I like to think, but if something, let's say, okay, well, I'll say this. One of the things that I find very interesting about all these megalithic sites and all these places that archeolog- archaeologists have excavated, and they've lasted so long throughout history, to this day, some of them being fucking 13,000 years old, you know um it's like I don't know. I find it pretty fascinating that it's still preserved to this day because if one of these huge if something terrible happened now, let's say boom right now, whoosh, wouldn't that suck if it actually happened right when I stopped my finger? But let's say boom,
Manifested.
get hit by a meteor or something, or there's a volcano that erupts. If you look at how we have civilization today, these buildings, these tall skyscrapers, the homes that we have, in 1,000 years, all that shit would be gone. You wouldn't be able to find any of it.
Oh, 100%.
So I find it very like interesting, cool, and almost as if they knew that their civilization would end. Like that they made it just a specific way that it would last for so long. You know, I find that very cool to think about.
Yeah, it's very sad to say, but a lot of even the construction materials we use now are built for um, kind of like efficiency in creating something that's cheaper, quicker to put up. It's the same reason why we see a lot of like even Victorian era houses. You know, they say a house has good bones. A lot of the materials that we used to construct things in the past are facing it a little bit too expensive now.
No, okay, that makes me think about so back to let's just go with the Mayan civilization for now.
Mhm.
Those pyramids that they have, you said Chichen Itza is Mayan, right?
Mhm.
Those pyramids that they have, those fucking massive structures that they have, and unfortunately, you know, now because of looters or you know, graffiti or whatever, people can't really go inside or go to the top of. But what are those? Do you know what are those made out of?
I know at least for the sites that I work in, the pyramids, they're built from limestone boulders. Um, depending on, I know they also used basalt, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Very like heavy volcanic stones.
Not to be confused with bath salts.
Yeah, no, I don't think they could source that much from wherever. But things like that would be used. They were definitely a lot more durable construction materials, obviously.
Yeah. So what I like, but even limestone itself, I feel as if it's pretty easy to break up. So how the fuck has shit like that lasted so long, do you think?
Um, for the most part, a lot of these sites were well preserved over the centuries.
Intentionally?
Oh, yeah, during periods of occupation. I mean, even sites like the one that I worked at, you can still see the distinctive carvings that they made for the limestone bricks that they used.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Originally.
yeah,
When
the
they're making
original
it.
limestone. So anywhere from 300 BCE to, like I said, like 250 CE.
Do you think so? You said when were these sites discovered? Let's say specifically the Mayan sites. You said somewhere in the 1800s.
Um, so the interesting thing about discovered, and not to go on a tangent, is that
No, go ahead. I want to hear all the tangents.
for a lot of people, especially the indigenous Maya who never really left the region, they've always known where they were. It just comes to when like outside people were looking to document it. Like you said, like late 1800s.
I see what you're
Is
saying.
when
Okay.
people started coming in from other countries, other places to document it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, at the beginning and even still now, that included a lot of looting items.
Do you think the jungles had anything to do with like preserving some of this stuff?
Oh, 100%.
Just the non-touching of man.
If you could get into the spiritual side of things, at least it's my belief that the jungles had protected these sites.
Do you, okay, this is another question I wanted to ask you. Um, what do you think we don't really understand about the spirituality and the, thoughts of people from those cultures?
Um,
Like okay, so a better way to say that is when you think, just this is a bad example, but, and of course, why I asked originally about the human sacrifices, that's not, their whole culture. That's not what everything was about. Um, but shit, I forgot what I was talking about.
no, you're okay.
Um, the fuck, what did I just bring up?
The spirituality, talking about like what people would believe initially or like preconceptions about it.
Yeah. So, what do you think that is like? What do you think today we don't really understand about that, or what do you think is kind of lost in time? I guess that differs from how they used to think
I
that
think
way of things. Is that a dumb question? We can cut that out.
No, there's no dumb questions here. And hopefully no dumb answers either. I'll try my best.
No, this has been great. You've been fucking killing it. Let's go. Everything we talk about, I have like it sends me to like 20 different questions, but go ahead.
I think that two things that I've at least drawn from my time and my work is the idea of spirituality with the Maya and their connection to the natural world. Something that I feel like we've really lost over the years is our connection to the natural world. Their beliefs of the underworld and how it relates to the land. Their beliefs of the gods and their connections to the natural creatures, like jaguars or like the quetzal, like the birds.
That reminds me of something. Quetzalcoatl. What is that?
Yeah, it's the official bird of Guatemala, but the quetzal is
That was also a Mayan god, though.
it
right?
was, yeah, the feathered serpent. It is part quetzal, part serpent. The quetzal now, which you can actually see a lot, is this beautiful long-tailed bird. We ran into quite a few of them actually in my work. And it's one of those things when you work in that region, when you see the animals and the gods that they're tied to, and see how these past cultures had such a reverence for the natural world, you also feel some of that spirituality yourself, if that makes sense.
That leads me to another question that I wanted to ask you. I forget how I worded it exactly. So, okay. Two things. Your first time being at one of these sites in Belize, right? One question being, what was it like your first time being there? And another question is, how, like, do you feel almost when you're at this site? So what was it like the first time being there? Like, how'd you feel spiritually, like, your connection to it? And then also, how do you feel like you have a, not only connection with the work that you're doing and what you've studied, what your whole career is based on, but do you feel like you have a connection with those people that lived in that time period?
The first time I was at the site, and it's a variety. It's several different like sites and sub operations.
Like, what was that like? Was it just like fucking holy shit? Look at this, or like, yeah? How'd you feel? Like, take me to that moment.
I feel very bad for the lead professor, because he was giving us a tour of our expansive artifact collection. And I didn't realize that my mouth was open the entire time. My jaw was on the floor. And at the end of the tour, he was like, "Okay, Jade, you can close your mouth now." I was in
That's what my ex told me.
Well, I bet you
Like
find a
that
lot.
too. I got her twice, y'all. But no, sorry, go ahead.
Gotta hit at least one more joke. But quite literally, I was just like, for lack of better words, holy shit, I'm holding a 2,000-year-old artifact in my hands. And he was like, you're going to get used to that feeling. And I didn't know what he meant at the time until we went to the site. We moved out of the lab, which was literally just a bunch of wooden tables in this hot ass room that has no air conditioning. Shout out to my lab people. I still love going down there. But
Is the lab in the same vicinity as the site?
it's about 25-minute like truck ride away. It's where we stay. It's not a lab, so to speak. It's just where we document and organize all of the material.
Not a lab, but your lab. Okay.
Yeah, it's not like the high tech stuff that you would see, or even the stuff I work with, like paleontology material with. Like there, you have like the lights and everything. I don't even know if there's lights in that building. I think there might be. I don't know, but it's about. That was the first time I think I'd held something that old culturally, and then I went to the site and I did that every day for about a month. And after that, I was like, okay, I would pick up a piece of pottery. I'm like, this is very interesting. Let's document it, put it in the bag. And then I would pull out about 800 more pieces of pottery and be like, all right, that's very cool.
So you did kind of get used to it though, like your professor said.
Oh, yeah. But it's still something, and this might be on a personal level, of holding this material and specifically in a spiritual context. The Mayans believed that anything with craftsmanship like that, anything that someone creates, is imbued with a life force of its own. Another on the topic of sacrifice, when someone was to pass away, they would often break pots, these gorgeous, beautiful, decorated polychrome pots, as a sort of sacrifice with that person. So when I uncover these pieces, these pieces of pottery, and I hold them in my hands, it's quite literally feeling like the cut off life force of an object, something that was so valuable, a funerary good. So it never really lost that feeling for me.
So those two questions kind of almost form into each other. So you did also, the second part of the question, or the second question was, do you almost feel like a connection with those people of that time?
Oh, 100%. I also have a connection with the descendant communities that we work with there.
Because a lot of the people that you work with are descendants of the people that lived there at the time.
Oh, yeah. I feel like people always ask me, it's just like, isn't it so cool to work with the ancient Maya? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's Ricky. He's pretty chill, because one of our site managers, his name is Ricky. He's very cool. Shout out my boy Ricky. Sad I couldn't buy him a beer this year, but
I got you, Ricky. Hit me up. I'll buy you fucking 20 beers.
No, but another reason that it was so important to have them there was when it comes to finding things at the sites. Like I said, it never really loses its spiritual significance for me. But what I can really draw to was the first time that I uncovered human remains at the site. It was something that it quite literally took my breath away. I had discovered part of a fractured arm bone, and I thought that it was pottery at first. I thought it was wood second, because you don't normally encounter human bone. Well, I don't know. I can't speak for you, but I don't normally encounter human bones.
Well, you never know.
Normal Tuesday night, I guess. But I held it in my hands and I was like, no, this feels different. I talked to my site supervisor, again, shout out Emily. And they were like, this is human bone. And I sat for a minute with it, and
Now, you found that on your own?
I was working underneath a tree. And what had happened was the tree on our site had dug up a lot of the human remains that were buried underneath.
Well, just from like the roots or whatever.
Yeah. And so the tree itself fractured and fragmented the bone, and pieces of it had been brought up. And I had spotted them when I was digging. And of course, thinking it was pottery, I was like, okay, let me, do all the normal tests you would check to see if it was pottery. It wasn't pottery. At first, I was very sad. It's in Western culture. I feel like it's very sad to uncover something like that. And then one of the workers at the site was talking to me, and he told me, this wasn't his first rodeo. And he told me that some of the Maya that we work with had talked to him after his, first time uncovering something like that. And they said, if they didn't want you to find them, you wouldn't have. They want to teach us about their culture, referring to their own ancestors. They want to teach us about their culture. They want to share this information with us. They've been waiting for us to uncover this information, this knowledge that they want to share with us. And it was honestly a life-changing moment for me. That perspective, the spirituality of that continuation that we don't see a lot nowadays, life and, consequently death is so, it's an air of finality, I feel like, in our culture that they don't have. They're still very much connected with the past.
Now, you brought this up a little while ago and made me want to ask this question. Their connection to astrology, or I don't even know if that's the right term, but their knowledge of the fucking stars and shit. How the fuck did they know that back then? Like, do you think maybe it's just because they could just see it because there's not as much like, unnatural light because of cities and whatnot? But you said that they had a Mayan specifically, they had a very strong connection to like astronomy, right?
This I haven't really delved into as much. But I think there's something to be said about the precision of all of their handiwork when it comes to the cosmos. I mean, you take, for example, even the way that their pyramids are aligned with the sun and the moon. Like, when I was in Chichen Itza,
Go ahead.
they explained to us how the sun cycle through, like, as the pyramid, the sun would revolve around the earth throughout the year. On a specific significant day of the year, the pyramid was built in alignment with the sun so that the sun would shine down and form the shadow of a snake along the pyramid. And it's something like that. You see the architecture and the ingenuity of it. It's like, it's without words. I mean, it's
How
just
fucking
mind-boggling.
wild is that? Like, it's just so crazy to me. I mean, I know this is not an area that you've worked in really, but like, just to bring up the pyramids for a second, the Great Pyramid of Giza fucking aligned to true north, south, east, and fucking west. How the fuck? It's like, I don't even know. I could look up at the sky right now. I could have a compass with me and I still wouldn't know. Like, it's just amazing to me that they were able to do that back then.
It's nothing short of like genius, really. I mean, you see it all over the world too. I mean, you look at like Stonehenge as like a cosmic calendar.
Yeah,
or
that's
you,
another weird one for sure.
I don't want to be like we're so obsessed with our phones nowadays thing, but it's just like, even.
No, you don't have to. That's right. You don't have to be like that at all.
But it's like one of those things where it's like, we our perception, I feel like, is so dulled versus when we used to be so in tune with nature and the natural world and how things worked. Um, there's so much more to observe. Even to hone those kinds of skills, to be able to practice astronomy like that in an ancient context. It's like you had just it's like I said, it's nothing short of genius. It's crazy to think about.
It's very insane. Um, I would like to also bring up some of the other like artifacts that you brought. Um, I do have to pee really quick though, so let's take just a quick couple minute break and we'll come right back to it. Any jizz, that's a conversation for another day. But
I'm stealing that phrase. That's insane.
what, any jizz?
Yeah.
Shout out Joe List. Yo, I took that from him.
Trademarked that.
But so this is what the
Ancient Mayan ball game. And
what does that entail?
so remember how I referenced earlier those books that we had that were full of these glyphs detailing history of the Maya and how they were burned? So one of the surviving
By the conquistador.
conquistadores, exactamente. One of the surviving books that we have is called the Popol Vuh, and it is a kind of like the origin story of the creation story of the Maya. And so one of the tales in it is of the hero twins. There are two brothers who fought with the lords of the underworld in a ball game. Um, and so oftentimes this game wasn't played necessarily how you would think of as like you're shooting the shit with your friends in the backyard. It was a very, very ritualistic recreation of the creation story of the Maya. And so
was it an actual game?
yeah, I hate to say it. Oftentimes it reminds me of Quidditch, if you've ever seen Harry Potter. It's played I've been to many of these fields, I guess you could say. And there are two giant circles, kind of like carved limestone circles on the wall with a hole in them on either side of the arena. And the goal for them is to take a rubber ball and to throw it. And these things are like, they can be anywhere from 10 to 13 feet in the air. I mean,
the goal itself?
Oh, yeah.
Would the goal be like this or like this? Like a soccer goal or like a basketball goal?
Like a soccer goal almost. So it was vertical and it had a hole in the side.
I see the relation to Quidditch now.
Yeah,
Okay.
They were flying without broomsticks. I've yet to see like a cinematic recreation of one. But it was all part of kind of think of it as like in comparison to like Christian religion, how they do a reenactment of, why am I forgetting? Oh, the nativity scene. The three wise men and whatever they would do when it comes to like Christmas time, and you dress up your kid and send them to go act in this play for their school. Except on a much, larger context.
Which is kind of crazy, by the way. You just have like this little fucking kid from Pakistan playing fucking Joseph.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And like a little baby doll in the cradle. No, but in a lot of ways, this was one of those like ritual reenactments that you would see. It had a lot of cultural
So do you think
significance.
just obviously nobody can really know, but do you think they saw this as a reenactment, or do you think they saw it as a game, or do you think they saw it as both a little bit?
A little bit of both.
Because if you look at like football today, right? American football, it's kind of like a reenactment of war, but it's also a game,
But yeah, it's definitely got a lot of ritual to it. A lot of devout followers too.
Do you think any modern sports today have possibly came from this, the ball game?
It's hard to say. I can't think of any, at least nowadays, that would even replicate it. I mean, the logistics of it are insane.
I thought, well, you said Quidditch, but I thought
Real
basketball
sports.
a little bit, maybe.
Basketball, I could definitely see the similarities. It was weird because it was played on, I'm not sure. Like, imagine a basketball court, but the hoops are on the sides instead of like front and back. There was less distance to travel. And of course, the hoops are vertical and also made out of limestone. And if you want to get really contextually specific about it, the ball itself was actually a representation of a human head. That was from part of the creation story. One of the hero twins' head was, if I'm misremembering, I hope I'm not, but his head was cut off by one of the lords of the underworld while they were playing this ball game. He was tricked. It's very interesting if you ever have the chance to read it. It's one of the few documents that we have that is translated. You can buy it as a book and read it. It's very cool.
Do you ever find it, with your knowledge and whatnot and the things that you have done, do you ever find it kind of strange how a lot of religions and a lot of different civilizations slash cultures, they all kind of share similar aspects?
Yeah, I think it's something that can be spoken to about that term that I brought up earlier, like cultural diffusion. With trade and with the expanding of human civilization out from where we evolved, it's one of those things that it's like we don't only trade material goods, we also trade ideas, religious beliefs, cultural practices. I believe that there can be similarities drawn between a lot of different archaeological and cultural like sites. It's fascinating to see how humans arrive at very similar ideas. There are a lot of things that
Do you ever think some of
us.
those ideas are shared though? Like, obviously they come from, let's say, whatever it is, 600 BCE. Do you think maybe some of those ideas might have been shared in a way that we don't know that they were shared? Like you have some ideas or some paintings or some whatever that come from one side of the world that are completely and objectively the same as somewhere else, the same fucking time period in a different place in the world, when they say that there it's almost impossible that these two cultures would be able to communicate.
Um, it's one of those things where I'm like, I would love to think that it was a diffusion of ideas across continents. But there's also, have you ever heard of the monkey in a typewriter theory?
No. Explain that. I would love to hear it.
The one thing that I feel like is more widely agreed upon is imagine like you give a monkey a typewriter, and you just let him go to work forever. Assume he's immortal. Eventually, he will write out every single like piece of documentation in human history. Eventually, eternally, right? He's got to keep writing forever. Um, I think that given enough time, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm sure I've never had an original thought before. Um, One of those things where it's just like somebody has done this, somebody has thought this before in all of human history. There has to be someone who has put this into practice before me. Um, at least that's my individual belief. It gets kind of into like the whole philosophy side of things, and the theory side of things. And one thing my professor said to me in archaeological theory is it's like theory is about as easy as eating a tube sock, or what is it? Eating a burrito through a tube sock, if that makes sense. It's one of those things where it's like there's an infinite number of reasons why that could be the way it is.
There's a, I feel a very similar way as to what I'm about to say.
About the tube sock?
I was about to make, actually, when you said that, I was about to make a golf ball and a garden hose joke, but I decided not to. Any tits, there's another one. You could use that
Keeps
one
getting
too.
better.
But there's a comedian. Fuck, I'm totally blanking. I'm sorry. He's one of the biggest comedians in the world. This is very disrespectful. I can't think of his last name right now. Nate something. But he has a very good joke. He's like, I don't like if I went back in time with all the knowledge that I had today, I don't even think I could convince them that I'm from the future. He's like, so, okay, well, who's the next president? He's like, well, not too sure. Fuck. I can't believe I can't remember his name right now. But, yeah, I feel the same way. Like, if I were to take my iPhone, if you took an iPhone back to the Mayan culture and you showed them like just anything, you just show them the phone and you're like, watch this, fucking swipe, unlocks just with your face. They'd be like, this motherfucker is a witch, burn him. I don't think that I would be able to prove that I'm from a different civilization.
Oh, yeah. And it's like most historians, it's like their dream to go back in time. You know, I honestly would be mortified because, again, I'm like, I don't have nearly it's, you know, if it had to be anyone, it would have to be an HR representative or someone who's good with people, like a public speaker who would have to go back in time. Because there's no way, I'm not good at debating. I'm not good at convincing people of anything for that matter. So it's like most historians and archaeologists would be like, oh, I would go back into this time and show these people this. No, I think I'm good on that. I would probably get, like you said, burned at the stake.
Do you have your phone
Yeah.
with you or right next to you? Can you look this up? I can't believe that I'm blanking on this right now.
Something?
Just look up comedian Nate.
And it's going to make you so mad when I find it out, too.
I know. I'm going to fucking shoot myself probably.
Bargatze?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, who's going to remember that,
Nate
though?
Bargatze. Yo,
No
I'm
offense
so
to Nate
sorry.
Bargatze.
Well, he's not even going to watch this, but I'm so
could.
sorry. I should have known that name. My bad. Great fucking joke, though. But yeah, that's who I was trying to bring up. Now, I have a question, too. You also have what would you call it? A Jaguarian jizz whistle? No, a Jaguar, some type of whistle?
I don't know how you would incorporate that, but yeah. This is obviously a replica. This is probably the most obvious replica that I have. And this one, it's not an Aztec death whistle. Sorry to disappoint, but it is another example of that liminal state that I was talking about earlier, kind of with this dagger that I have.
Now, this is a replica of something that has been found.
Yes, I think they took a couple creative liberties with the pink gemstones, but you really never know. I've seen them pull some crazy shit out of this.
Yeah.
Oh no, these colors are actually pretty common in the stuff you find.
Really?
Oh
The
yeah.
yellow?
Oh, yellow, red. They have this great sunset orange that they use. Even the blues as well. Again, the pink might be a little.
No, so what is it? What is that called again?
It's a jaguar whistle. And I
Jaguar
don't know the
whistle.
original name for it. But I actually, when I got this, they mentioned it was a replica. I found it was hard to believe that it was a replica. And then the next year, when I was doing field work, my coworker actually uncovered something very similar to it.
Really?
It was beautiful. It was a Mayan ruler, and it was an ocarina. If you've ever been a Zelda fan, I'm a huge Zelda fan. Um, it had multiple holes in the back and a mouthpiece like this one, and then a part on the bottom where you place your hand. And again, cop out, it was probably a ritualistic context. I'm not sure, but for this one, it definitely would have been. Um, in similarity, though, the Aztec death whistles they mentioned were to scare the enemy ranks in battle. The jaguar whistle, however, I'm not sure of its use.
You're not sure what you think that would be used for?
Yeah, I know that jaguars are one of those revered animals in Mayan culture. They still are.
They're very fucking majestic creatures.
Oh, I mean,
just big cats in
gorgeous.
general. I don't know if you've ever been around in the wild, big cats, but I mean, just cats, like a house cat. Um, those are very interesting animals, especially if you watch them, watch their movements. Very similar to snakes a little bit.
Oh yeah.
There's some people that have the theory that somebody used a little bit of gene editing a long time ago, and that's where house cats come from. But I don't know. Big cats in general, though, are. I've never seen a jaguar or anything other than a mountain lion in the wild.
There's some close to the site that we work on. Unfortunately, a lot of the land by the jungle that we work in has been agriculturally developed, so they're losing a lot of their habitat. But
Well, I'm sure if they're in that area too, you know, they say like a saying for the hunters is they know you're there.
oh yeah,
Like long before you will be able to see them. I've seen one mountain lion in the wild. I saw a mountain lion. It was probably about which you think 90 pounds is not that big, but when it comes to a cat, that's a big fucking animal. And I saw a mountain lion one time in the wild, and I don't know, these type of cultures had something, correct with how they look at them, and just the spiritual side. Those things, they don't look at you like a deer or like a dog, or they like look at you like if you make eye contact with one of them, they're like, I know you're here. I'm about to fuck you up. Like if I want to. It's
that knowing. It seems like they know something about you that you don't.
Yeah, it's
like,
very
what are you
strange.
hiding?
It's very strange.
No, yeah, we get to see jaguars down there, but also the monkeys down there are. They're not they don't freak me out as much as the jaguars do. But
They can fuck you up though too.
oh, 100%.
Those little monkeys, they could fucking, if they wanted to, they could probably rip your face off.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, the little spider monkeys aren't as bad, but
are the spider monkeys the ones that they're black and they have like white faces?
Yeah, they're really, really thin
They go,
dudes.
woo, 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 woo.
They're very cute. But then we have the howler monkeys, which are bigger and they sound like just a grown man, like.
Damn, what do those look like?
They're like completely black and they don't like being seen a lot. But when you do see them, they're a bit bigger than the spider monkeys. They just make this like guttural sound that first time I heard it, I freaked out. I was like, okay, no wonder there's so many like different, gods associated with animals down here. I mean, if we had anything like this in the US, I'd probably freak my shit.
Now, when it comes to these whistles though, have you ever seen an Aztec death whistle? Like an actual one?
Not an original one. So I've only worked in Mayan sites. I'd like to change that, don't get me wrong. But from the ones that I've seen through pictures, they're gorgeous. The amount of craftsmanship it takes to make one is insane.
Yeah. The only information I have, don't judge me for this, The only information I have of any Aztec death whistle is the last time, the only time I've ever heard one be blown. It was on Rogan's podcast. I think it was Brian Callen, who's a comedian slash actor. He blew it on the Joe Rogan podcast, and then like a month later, fucking COVID. Boom.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
what do you think those like? What do you think things like this? Well, I guess you kind of already said what you think they would possibly be for. But so you think it'd be like a war tactic or like I don't know, what like do you think there was more meaning to them maybe?
I mean, again, it's like I'm shooting in the dark here, but um a lot of archaeology is like inferring, I guess. Um Another thing I would maybe think of that you could use it for, or they would use it for, is to emulate that transition that rulers would have from human into animal, or these human animal hybrids. I mean, even the whistle itself, you can see, isn't an actual jaguar. It's a person's face with a jaguar mask over it. So kind of becoming one with the animal in that state. It's something I could think of if you're looking to imitate its call, in addition to imitating or replicating the grace and beauty of a jaguar.
I think just because these cultures are so ancient and kind of we don't understand them as much as we understand our own cultures, but I think just because of how ancient they are, it almost gives you the idea or whatever that it's like there's some mystique behind it. You blow this fucking whatever type of whistle, a plague whistle,
Yeah.
and then it fucking creates a plague.
There's certainly a lot of fear around that, a lot of speculation.
Now,
Two things. Oh,
no, go ahead. Two things.
I would definitely say, for one, it's one of those things where it's just like the best way we can learn too, aside from looking at the artifacts themselves, is through talking to the descendants too. I mean, a lot of times they see things that I would never in a million years guess. It's like these were their relatives, a lot of their practices they still put into practice. My site supervisor is indigenous, and he can look at like for rock formation and say, okay, so this wall is going to curve that way as we excavate it, like looking under the soil. That in part, and also I think a lot, especially when it comes to Mesoamerican archaeology, um, it's one of those things where we've seen so much in popular media of like the end of the world, or death and destruction and cursing and all that. Even with the Mayan calendar, they said, oh, the calendar runs out in 2012. That means the world's gonna end. And of course, the world kept spinning. I'm not sure if you saw
Still
that.
here.
Um
Well,
funnily enough, well, yeah,
that we
2012 was,
think.
was a
Never know.
rough year.
This could all be a
An
fucking
illusion.
facade.
For another podcast, if you will.
But what? So I wanted to bring that up though too. The Mayan, the calendar itself. What is like the end of that? Why did people say that was the end or whatever? Like, what is the significance of the ending of that calendar?
So it was one of those things where it was I believe that lack of understanding bolsters fear. So in the Mayan calendar, there's two actually. There's the Hab and there's the Tzolk'in.
Does it continue after that day that they say that it ended, or
Yeah, so it was in the Tzolk'in, or in the longer count calendar, there's different periods of time and how we would think of in a day, a month, a year. So I believe it was every like 7 years, every 44 years, and then finally around every 400 years, give or take, it was the turning of a new Baktun, or another kind of just like a historically significant period.
solstice or something?
Yeah, similar. And so at the turning of the new Baktun, there would be a ceremony. It was a large period of time. And so the calendar only featured a certain amount of Baktuns, I'm sure, before they were able to create enough.
Baktun?
Baktun, yeah. Um, I can't remember the names for all of the different periods of time, but the Baktun is the longest. And so in reality, it was just the turning of this large period of time in which typically there would be a huge ceremony. And of course, archaeologists found this and didn't initially understand what the turning of the Baktuns signified. But we'd had plenty of them before. The reason people considered this one to be significant was because it was the 13th. It was technically the last one that was on the Tzolk'in. And so people were like, oh my God, there's none left.
So they had this calendar even going out to fucking
To today. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I mean, you can literally, and what I have here on the table, of course, I'm not sure if it's visible, but you can literally look up and have your birthday down to the day.
Now, what is it
written.
called again?
Huh?
What is it called again?
What's what?
What you're referring to?
Oh, the Baktun or the calendar?
The calendar.
The calendar, this one is a representation of actually my birthday in the Tzolk'in, which is the longer calendar.
Okay, cool. I'll throw an image of that right here too.
Oh, yeah. There's a site that'll actually do it for you if you ever want to know your birthday in Mayan glyphs. But no, yeah. No end of the world, just the turning of a ceremonial period of time. Sorry to disappoint.
No, I'm just thinking, no disappointment at all. The disappointment is when it didn't end.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, don't listen to me, folks. Okay, now I just have a few more things I want to bring up, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, I'm chilling.
So we've talked about a lot about the Mayan civilization in particular. What would you hold on, folks?
That is also mine.
What do I look? I was sitting like this. Okay. What would you say is the difference between these like three? Well, it was four, right? The one I forget a lot because I can't pronounce it. It was the Mayan, the Aztecs, the Olmecs, and
the Toltec.
The Toltec. Okay. Now, we've talked a lot about the Mayans. What between these other three would you say is similar, and what would you say that is different?
Oh, that's difficult.
Just from what you've seen.
I mean,
So the Olmecs, they were the first, right?
Yes, the monumental stone heads.
Okay. Then came Aztec or Mayan?
It was Mayan, or hold on. I believe the Toltecs were in between, then Mayan, and finally was the Aztecs.
Okay, so the Aztecs were the later ones. And you said the Aztecs were what dates again did you say that was?
Rough estimate, and again I'm spitballing here. I would say anywhere from pre-classic would be, oh, this is humbling for me. Sorry to my professors.
Get her.
For my sites, maybe 600 BCE to 900 CE.
Even the Aztecs?
Oh, for the Aztecs?
Or wait, what did I just ask? Maybe I fucked up.
I thought you said Mayans. For the Aztecs, at least for the major cities, 1200s to 1500 CE was when that was
Common Era, meaning after Christ, quote unquote.
80, yeah.
That would be the Aztecs.
Mm-hmm.
And then before that was the Toltecs or
Ooh, Toltecs, I actually don't know as much about, and that's
you
on.
want to, can you
Yeah,
just,
I'll pull up a little.
just cause yeah, if you just look it up real quick, just so I can, because it'll base what this question is.
Let's see here. Here we go. So Olmecs, 1400, around 1400 BCE.
The first one.
Mhm. Oh, I was wrong actually. Yeah, then it was the Maya, then the Toltec, then the Aztec. So Maya actually, I had figured my sites were some of the newer ones. 2000 BCE to 1500s. So they were also
BC.
until
Wait, 2000. Let me fucking think about this for a second. 2000. Crisis here. 2000. So 2000 years before Christ. We'll just so I can, we'll just use before Christ so I can wrap my head around
Oh
it.
yeah.
So it goes, Olmec is what?
So Olmec 1400 BC to 400 AD. Or sorry, 400 BC.
And then Maya's right after 2000
BC
to
1500 AD.
holy fuck, that's
Yeah.
so long. And then
3500 years.
that is so crazy. And then the Toltecs were after?
Toltecs were after. You were right. It's 900 AD to 1168 AD.
And then the Aztecs were after that.
Yes, Aztecs 1345 AD to
Okay.
1521.
Now we talked about this a little bit. We talked about this a little bit. But so do you think, and you said some of these civilizations were in the same areas, do you think they ever overlapped or had like wars with each other? Or then are there any like recorded wars maybe between?
If there were, they're most definitely well recorded. I'm mainly focused on wars within different Mayan cultures. Like those Star Wars we had mentioned earlier.
Scratch that. What is the most significant, if you know, or what is like the most the most significant war between the Mayan culture?
Oh, 100%. And this is it depends on your idea of significant, of course, but as I had mentioned earlier,
Like most major almost.
the two ruling empires, well, two of the largest empires that expanded out during that time were the kingdoms of Tikal and Kalakmul.
How do you say it again? Tikal is one of them, and
yes, Tikal,
Kalakamu?
Kalakmul, and you'll like this one. Kalakmul is the snake dynasty, and so they were spearheaded by like a figurehead of a snake. And Tikal, while it's known for its like main site, the site itself is very popular. Kalakmul had several popular sites throughout the peninsula. One of them actually, and this is again not 100% confirmed. I'm not even sure if I should be saying it.
Let's hear it.
But we uncovered this last year a glyph, a large limestone carved stone glyph with the snake head of Kalakmul at our site. So we're now in the process of determining whether or not our site was one that was under the rule of the Kalakmul dynasty in later years.
Now this glyph that you found, this is pictoglyph, right? You said
this one would be pictographic. So it's a representation.
Did I just make that up though? Pictoglyph?
No, you're right. It's
what was the other one?
Logographic.
Oh,
logographic.
Okay, yeah. My bad.
No, you're good.
Glyph in between. Well, is pictoglyph a word?
Oh, Google.
So
would
no.
definitely- I have no
Probably
idea.
know about logo glyph. Yeah, I guess. Okay, sorry. I fucked
Dive
that
into
up.
linguistics.
Now, the thing that you said was most recently found is, say it again. Sorry.
It was a glyph of the snake head of the Kalakmul dynasty, allegedly. We still have to have someone who's much higher ranking than me take a look at it. But
Allegedly.
it would be a huge, huge breakthrough in importance for our site. Knowing that it was
Now,
part
what
of
would you
that.
need to, in order for a site like this or many other sites, what would the archaeology community need for these breakthroughs to happen? Flint Dibble, fucking, you heard that? Do something. Sorry,
We'll step up.
but yeah, go ahead. What would your what would the archaeology community need for things like these to be confirmed, or you know, have shed more light towards?
It would probably take the examination of multiple experts, specifically linguistic anthropologists who are familiar with the language. I had the privilege to be
You
able
said
to talk.
linguistic.
Yeah, linguistics, so the
Mhm.
study of human language. But I had the privilege of talking with a few of them at a conference a couple years back, and the way that they're able, like I said, with anything, it takes practice, but the way that they're able to read these glyphs, especially just like handwriting in modern day, they have a huge amount of variation based on who's writing them, and they shift over time. The words, the terminology, the pictures themselves, and so we would need someone to look at it, look at the existing record, and compare them to see if there are similarities with that snake glyph and other ones that have been found throughout the peninsula.
Now, to dive kind of more into that a little bit, what is it, funding that would be required for those type of people to look at those things, or is it just is it like more communication between these linguistic people and these other, you know?
I mean, it's one of those things where everybody kind
reason-
of wants to get paid.
The reason, well, yeah. So funding.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because I would like for shit like this to happen, you know? And I find one of the, and this is another thing, like another reason why I really wanted to talk, is because I find if we take a lot of these different scholars, a lot of these different aspects of studies and kind of put them together, I feel like a lot of more information could be found.
Oh, 100%. I think another thing about it, and this is the beautiful thing about archaeologists, is that and my professor talked to me about this while I was still an undergrad, it takes a hell of a lot of work to bring a consensus about for a lot of things in the like the archaeology, like the academic community. And even
You almost said academics.
academics.
That's a fucking great
Yeah,
term.
Trademark that. You can patent that one.
We're going to. Academics, baby. Let's go.
It's one of those things, though, that even outside of the academic community, I mean, even working in CRM, I've love my coworkers. Love my coworkers. I will see them talk for 45 minutes about.
She hates you guys. She's lying. She's lying.
Oh my! Shout out to you
Just
guys.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Go ahead.
They'll literally talk about soil and debate about soil for 45 minutes. And it's like, oh, it's this slightly lighter shade of gray. It's a slightly darker shade of gray. And it's one of those things where it's like the devil's in the details. So truly, we could.
Now you sound like a conquistador.
Conquistador. Exactly. But it's like one of those things where it's like, it's examined and re-examined and re-examined and looked at over and over and over again. And it just takes a long time to bring about consensus in that. And the hope and probably the realization at the end of the day is that hopefully it will be, actually a glyph from like representing the empire of Kalakmul. We just have to wait. And it's like, it's been
It's a
here a
waiting
couple
game.
thousand years. It's, a couple, 2-3 more years added on to it.
Okay. I have one last thing I want to ask you about. And well, we've had a great conversation. We talked before the podcast, and you're a kind person. You're open-minded.
Debatable. No, I'm kidding.
I would say agreed. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. I would say what I'm about to ask may not be, I would say, depending on the archaeologist, this may not be a favorable question. Which is one thing I would like to ask. And then we can wrap it up. So, when you look at these different structures, you have these different megalithic sites, whether you're talking about Machu Picchu, Chichen Itza, whether you're talking about, I said that right?
Chichen Itza, yeah.
Oh, Chichen Itza. Sorry, I fucked that up. Machu Picchu, Chichen Itza, whether you're talking about the Great Pyramids of Giza, which, side note, like some of them sound a little similar. Giza, whatever. Whether you're talking about the, the Sphinx, the Great Pyramid of Giza, Göbekli Tepe, Derinkuyu. I'm trying to think of more. Whatever. So this is my little controversial question. Let me divide it into two, actually. One, do you think, and I want to get a real answer for both of these. One, do you think that people with certain theories are asking certain questions or coming up with theories because of the lack of knowledge and the disrespect for people of those times who have made those sites? Like, do you think that's maybe why people are coming up with these theories? And also, do you think it's possible that some of these sites that are very well known, do you think it's possible that they're older than we think that they are? And possibly, do you think, I guess 3 questions, do you think maybe some of these sites indicate a more advanced civilization than we think that is there? Now, this is just your opinion. It's kind of a dumb question. I don't know if you can.
Again, no dumb questions. At least let's start with the first one.
Yeah. So, do you think that it's almost disrespectful, or almost do you think that we just don't really get it? Like just how advanced what the pre-base knowledge of these civilizations are. Like, yeah.
I think that in terms of the whole idea of disrespect, I don't believe a lot of these people, or if you want to get into morals in general, I don't believe that a lot of people ask these questions with the intent to disrespect.
More of curiosity, yeah.
Yeah, I like to assume the good intent of people in general. I think the question that I would pose is, what preconceptions do you have, or even what like ethnocentric biases you might have that help draw you to those conclusions?
Support that. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's just like, part of it could be like, oh, there's certain like processes that people haven't learned about, that leads them to asking this question. There's certain biases that people grow up with that leads them to ask these kinds of questions or to have these theories.
It's a great way to look at it. Okay.
It's one of those things where I'm like, even when I ask a question, I'm like, when I'm looking at this site, when I'm looking at this artifact, and this gets back to the theory side of things, why am I perceiving this artifact to be for this specific use?
Why do you think that way?
Yeah. Why am I perceiving this site to be like this? Because again, it's like you're looking at it from a lens of an outsider. It's one of those things where it's like, as I mentioned earlier, it's so important to incorporate the knowledge of the indigenous communities, the communities from which these, structures were created from the ancestors.
I would like you to say that again. It's so important. Two things. So important and indigenous. Go ahead.
Exactly.
It's so important.
It's so important to get the knowledge and perspective of the indigenous communities from where these sites originated, the practices and things like that, because it's like a lot of this knowledge wasn't erased, it was passed down. And so a lot of times when I do see conspiracy theories or things like that, it comes from a perspective of an outside culture. Yeah, and even myself included, it's important as an archaeologist to stay consistently conscious of why we ask the questions that we do, where the questions are coming from, and most importantly, the impact they have on our perception of this past culture.
Excluding that outside culturistic fucking, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things where I think our work is never going to be just in the past. I feel like the way that we perceive the past influences the way that we view the present and simultaneously the future. We can't expect to move forward as a culture without understanding first the history of the people who came before us. And so I think that's why it's such a delicate matter. It's an important matter for people when these theories do come up to ask, why? Where is this perspective coming from? Specifically regarding Mesoamerican cultures, it's like, why are we asking these questions about ancient Mesoamerica and not about, for example, like the Parthenon or like any like larger, the Colosseum, these also like huge like megalithic structures. I think that
those are kind of I just will say, I don't mean to interrupt. Those are a little bit of question in themselves. But go ahead. Sorry.
It's a marvel for sure. And I think, like I said, there's no bad questions. It's all about recognizing the intent behind them.
No, okay. I think you kind of answered both of those.
There's a third one too.
I know.
I forgot.
I'm getting there. I think you kind of answered both of those. Well, I had two questions originally, and the third one, which is what I'm about to say or ask again. But I think the first two, they kind of formed together. You answered very well, and I think that stands out for a lot of. You guys see a lot of. You see interviews, you see YouTube videos, you see people talking about these different archaeological finds, digs, all these things. I think for a lot of the conspiracy theorists, I think that is what she just said was very fucking important to keep in mind. And I think just for you as an archaeologist, I think that was like a very good way to answer that question. Now, the last part, or the third question, whatever, is, and this is just strictly opinion based, and it kind of ties into the other part, is do you think, or is it possible, it's kind of a broad question, is it possible, do you think maybe that the timing, the dating that we have of these certain civilizations could be wrong? Do you think that it's possible that there was a very advanced civilization, almost as advanced or maybe even more advanced than we are today? Do you think that is possible to have existed and maybe been wiped out? Because, so just keep that question in mind. I just want to say, just because if you look at different sites throughout the world, there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of just different things that kind of tie these megalithic sites together. So just, I don't know, in your opinion, and like whatever you think about it or whatever you want to say about it, do you think it's possible that there was an advanced civilization that was maybe wiped out by meteors or something, or anything along those lines?
I mean, I think, well, first and foremost, I am one who's never one to dismiss the evidence. I think it's very important to have as much concrete evidence on something as possible. Everything, I think, starts as a theory, of course. But also in that sense, I think in terms of at least these civilizations, they already were, in a sense, advanced. If you're referring specifically like technologies like the ones that we have today, I think that it's one of those things where it truly has to be something that's tested and tested and tested again before it can be proven or accepted as like a widely accepted theory. I think also something that is important to note, at least in my personal experience working in the field, is that as humans, our brains are trained to see patterns. So for example, I will be working in like at a Native American site, and I'll pick up a piece of pottery that has an engraving on it, and it will remind me of something that I saw in my Roman architecture, research. And it's one of those things where an accepted theory is that recognition plus data. So it all comes down to how much data we have available for these things. I think that in terms of dating, there are several methods that we have that are very, like, I wouldn't say completely accurate, but we have available to us now more technology than allegedly we've ever had.
Would carbon dating be one of those methods?
Yes, radiocarbon dating.
Do you think, is that a very accurate method?
100%. It's to within 60 to 90 years of that object. It has to be an organic material.
Oh, you're saying if it was like from 1500 years ago, it would be
either from like
either 1500 years ago or 1440 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. As technology progresses, we're having more fine-tuned methods of dating. When it comes to some of the older sites that you had mentioned, initially we used something called relative dating, which was like, we know that this artifact is this amount of years old, so the artifact and the strata or layer underneath it must therefore be older than it, and so on and so forth.
You said relative dating?
Yeah, relative versus...
That was, only something that white people do.
Different kind of relative dating. Yeah, no.
That's root, baby.
But it's something really cool, and you brought this up actually. Sorry, not to leave the audience in the dark earlier, but talking about
leave them in the dark
research. Oh, but the new research we have about humans, the earliest record of humans in the Americas.
Oh, yes, I remember. Okay, go ahead.
So the research they're actually doing currently puts a date for the first presence of humans in the Americas to around 23,000 years old.
Those are those footprints, right?
Yes, the footprints in New Mexico. And the way that we were able to do that, and again, it's like with archaeology, it's that meticulous testing and testing and testing again. Any theory that we have, even if it may be out there, can be proven if there is enough data, again, that goes through that testing and retesting and retesting. So the data that we have from that specific site was radiocarbon dated, like you had said, but from 55 different samples. So again, it's like this is something that's groundbreaking. You know, if this theory were to be true, you know, that existence of humans before previously thought by thousands of years before we previously thought.
Because previous to the 23,000-year-old footprints was the Clovis first people, right?
Yes,
In the
Clovis.
Americas. Okay. Now we can end on this. Sorry, I know I said I would ask you 2 more questions.
No, you're okay.
But this is so cool. I've had so much fun talking about
Likewise.
all of this. And I was gonna say something, but I'll throw that in for just the ending. Now, last thing, really, I want to ask in regards to that. What is so when we find something like these 23,000-year-old footprints, archaeologists find that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be an archaeologist that would find something like that.
Ideally, yeah.
Now, what is that? Like, is it a footprint where someone stepped in and then it was mud and then it got frozen and then they found it thousands of years later? Or is it, it got shaped into the footprint and then just buried? Like, what? How does someone find a fucking footprint 20,000 years later?
It's one of those things where we have done so much extensive research on the soil and the way that layers compact, and there has to be very, very, very specific preservation conditions for these kinds of artifacts, or even like referring to things like fossils, because of the fact that the conditions have to be perfect. Like, for example,
So like a footprint, it fossilizes.
so the clay itself, when the clay hardens, and then it's layered, it's layered under layers of sediment. And so the clay itself still has the organic material, which can be tested for its carbon half-life. But even like, for example, the footprints from the original humans discovered in Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania that I was talking about, those were in volcanic ash. And so the ash hardened and then again was layered and layered and layered with layers of sediment. And then when it was uncovered, they were able to use a different kind of dating. It's potassium argon from the volcanic ash that was able to give us a somewhat accurate time period. So it's one of those things where it's like,
When you say somewhat accurate, meaning
to within like a certain amount of years. I don't know that
you said
with
60 to 90. Does that apply to that still or no?
No, unfortunately, with different elements, they have different half-lives. So there's for older samples, there's larger periods of variation. It could be anywhere from, like I said, that 60 to 90 years, anywhere up to like even 1,000 years or beyond that. But it's so interesting and so rare to find those things, which is why this is just like blowing up in the scientific community. It's one of those things where, like, even with fossils, we only have about, and this is a guesstimate, maybe 1% of the fossilized material or the material in general of prehistoric creatures because of the fact that it's like you need these specific environmental conditions for it. And if they're not met, the organic material just dissipates.
Okay. Now, what do you mean specific? Like, when you're talking about you need these specific environmental things to happen for that to happen. What do you like? What does that entail?
For example, like the site I was talking about in at the Mammoth Museum in South Dakota, the bones of these mammoths were preserved because they were in a mud pit. And so it's more anaerobic conditions, which leads to that hardening of the clay.
Anaerobic.
Sorry, non-oxidated environment.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes sense.
It's like the material can't be too hard, the bones will be destroyed. It can't be too soft. It allows for scavengers and things like that to get through and, obviously chew the bones to bits. So it's like it's
So
one of
there's
those
all these
things.
different environmental factors that can.
Yeah, it's insanely rare. Yeah, but shout out to the Mammoth Museum though. It's one of the most, like, again, it's like things like that are so rare. There's only, I believe, three of the largest ones in the world like that are in Mexico, Russia, and then in South Dakota. But other than that, you rarely see environments like that where things are preserved in that way. So like these footprints are like 1 in a million chance. 1 in a million chance of being discovered, let alone 1 in a million again of being preserved.
Detrimental and crazy. Wow. Okay. What a fucking podcast. That was insane. I learned so much. And I'm sure anybody who's listening learned a lot as well. I'm just kind of a little in shock right now. But I appreciate you for your time. I had a lot of fun. We should, there's a lot of other things I would like to get into, but I know,
Well, shoot me a text.
time
Yeah,
calls. We should definitely do this again sometime.
100%. Bring some more of my cool rocks.
So Jade Green, spelt like the color. And is there anything you would like to promote? Maybe a foundation that you would like people to donate to, or maybe a website you would like people to go to? Anything like that you want to say before we get out of here?
Oh man. I would say that the two kind of research institutes or the two research centers that kind of bolstered my work were the Maya Research Program. They have a phenomenal research program for any archaeology students who are looking to get into the field and get experience in the field. Their field school has some of the most advanced experts. My professor actually in undergrad went to field school at the same one that I work at now.
At the Maya Research Program, you said?
Yes, through the University of Texas. Big
Through
fan.
the University of Texas.
And then also a lesser known one, but the other half of my archaeology work was through the African diaspora, specifically the Black Bottom Research group, and that's actually through Detroit. They specialize in documenting the former cultural neighborhoods of Detroit and the archaeology in general of it. They were a huge inspiration to me in undergrad, especially through my family. And yeah, it's a great way to get started in like city-based archaeology as well. So a little bit of both.
Beautiful. Now, if this is up to you, but if you have, if somebody has some questions or whatever, is there anywhere that you would like to promote, like your Instagram or your anything, maybe an email that you want to put out there?
You're more than welcome to DM me on Instagram. I
Which
am.
is what's the Instagram handle?
Oh, that's a great question.
Lost in something.
Lost in translation. That's actually an homage to linguistic anthropology. You know, some things can never be perfectly translated from their mother language.
So at Lost in Translation on Instagram, and do you have an email too maybe that you want to put out there? It's okay if you don't.
Yeah. I mean, oh, geez. I actually don't use anything other than my work email now.
You can
But-
throw that out there. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's just in case maybe somebody hits you up and is like, "Hey, I heard this and I want to hear that."
Yeah. My email is actually it's Jada Green, JADA, and then it's green like the color, 223 at gmail.com. And yeah, if anybody has any questions or they're looking to get into the field and looking for a couple points in the right direction, it's the
Beautiful.
way to go. You're never too old to start. We've had some crazy stories of people getting into this and they're starting in their 80s, as we were talking about. So if it's something you're passionate about and you ever want to take a swing at it, there's always opportunities for you.
And what would you say if somebody wanted to get into archaeology, go to school for it, how would they go about doing so?
Well, I went the traditional route with undergrad, and eventually going for my master's. But in terms of starting out, the best way, in my opinion, is through field experience. There are places all over the world that need volunteers, that need people to come help and work at these sites. And the experiential knowledge you get from it is amazing. So really just looking up a field school, looking up what you're passionate
You
about.
can just look that up on Google and
Oh yeah, 100%. There are some amazing field schools. It's the best way to get started in the field. And, you know, it's a great way to give back to the communities that you're going to be working in.
perfect. Okay. Thank you guys for listening. This was a fucking awesome episode. I thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I'll throw the links into everything in the description, and y'all will see all the pictures and whatnot. But thanks again. Let's do it again
Yeah.
sometime.
Hell yeah.
Boom, baby.
Oh,
Archaeology.
terrible. No, you got to do that
It's okay,
again.
you gotta dap me up. Ready? Boom. There we go. Beautiful. Peace. Welcome to Ville's world, bitch.